Ryouta Sakamoto is a hermit, a sad and lonely man who spends his days playing video games non-stop. His favorite game was Btoom, where he was one of the best players in the world. Thanks to his addiction to video games, Sakamoto has no job and no social life. However, his life takes an unexpected turn when he suddenly wakes up on an abandoned island without knowing how he got there. Sakamoto begins to explore his surroundings after waking up and finds a backpack full of capsules that turned out to be timer grenades. He sees a person in the distance after investigating in search of supplies. Sakamoto approaches him innocently, thinking he'd get help, but suddenly the stranger attacks him with bombs that explode on impact. Seeing himself threatened by the stranger, Sakamoto flees and hides in the mountains. However, the stranger continues to find him thanks to the tracking chip everyone in the game has. At that moment, Sakamoto realizes that his environment is similar to Btoom. So Sakamoto plans a strategy to kill the stranger and save himself. He's severely affected by killing someone, although this doesn't prevent him from stealing the enemy's grenades and continuing on his way. Himiko is a high school girl who also spent most of her time playing Btoom. Himiko knows Sakamoto as just another player from the game. Himiko is also brought to the island but is lucky enough to find some allies to survive. However, everyone in Himiko's group is very different and doesn't seem to get along. After a fight, the strongest one of the group kills another one of the members. Seeing this, the remaining group members escape with Himiko to get away from the killer. Both run through the jungle while escaping and manage to lose the man on the way. But when Himiko thought she was safe, she realized the man she escaped with also wanted to hurt her. Himiko uses a taser to fend him off and runs away from him. She manages to hide, but her hiding place doesn't last long as the man finds her using the chip and tries to take advantage of her. But Himiko sets him up with a bomb to kill him. And after he tries to escape, Himiko throws the bomb at him, killing him instantly. Himiko is bathing in a river in the morning and notices someone watching her. The stranger was Sakamoto, who stared at her, although he was just looking at the food she had. When Himiko sees him, she gets scared and runs away with her supplies, and Sakamoto decides to follow her using the chip. Sakamoto meets a man named Kiyoshi Tayara, who's also lost on the island. Seeing that Sakamoto wants to attack him, Tayara asks him to team up to get out of the island together. Sakamoto accepts, but with the condition that Tayara tells him where they are. Tayara tells him that they were kidnapped by a company and forced to jump off a plane to the island to play the game. He also tells Sakamoto he protested the most on the plane, so the guards electrocuted and threw him asleep. And that's why he doesn't remember anything. Hearing the story, Sakamoto decides to team up with Tayara to leave the island together. Tayara tells Sakamoto that the only way to win is to get 7 of the embedded radars the players have in their hands, and the only way to remove them is to kill them. Sakamoto doesn't like the idea very much, but decides to do whatever it takes to survive. Sakamoto notices that the organizers send out briefcases of supplies for the players every morning. Sakamoto decides to go with Tayara to find one to try to get tools and something to eat. Once they get to where the briefcase is, they meet Kosuke Kira, a boy with sadistic tendencies accused of murder. Kosuke wasn't only guilty as charged, but had also murdered his father after years of mistreatment. Kosuke, a great Btoom player, decides to attack Sakamoto for fun. Sakamoto decides to run away and not fight the boy because he doesn't want to kill him. Trying to flee, Tayara falls and breaks his ankle. But this is a diversion to steal Kosuke's father's radar while Sakamoto distracts him. Sakamoto prepares to fight Kosuke since he has no other choice. After a few explosions, it seems that Kosuke is about to finish Sakamoto. However, Sakamoto hits his head and goes into a trance where he thinks he's inside the video game. In this state, Sakamoto puts aside his human thoughts and attacks Kosuke in full force. When Sakamoto defeats Kosuke, he comes to his senses and realizes that he almost killed another person. After stealing Kosuke's supplies, Sakamoto returns to Taira, and they grow closer over dinner. They see a dead body floating in the river nearby, and Sakamoto decides to investigate while Taira removes its radar. Sakamoto goes over a waterfall looking for the killer of the river's corpse, and after looking around, he finds Himiko. A fearful Himiko wants to attack Sakamoto, but he tries to talk to her, and she seems to calm down for a moment. However, when Sakamoto gets closer to her, Himiko becomes alert and tries to attack him again. The two struggle until Himiko electrocutes herself with the taser, and Sakamoto takes her back to the camp. When Sakamoto returns to Taira, they offer Himiko food and help since she's weak. Night falls, and the trio hear weird noises coming from the jungle. Sakamoto and the others think it may be another player, but it turns out to be some wild lizards ready to attack them. The lizards attack Himiko and Taira while Sakamoto tries to get a grenade to drive them off. Sakamoto reaches through all of his bags but realizes that he can't use someone else's grenades if he hasn't killed them before. Taira is bitten on the leg by one of the lizards, but Sakamoto finds one of his grenades and kills some lizards. The trio escapes up the river carrying an unconscious Himiko on their backs as the lizards chase after them. Taira runs away, leaving Sakamoto alone with Himiko on his back. Sakamoto tries to escape but ends up lost and is about to be killed by a lizard. However, Taira appears with a new type of grenade to save them. The three of them escape until they reach a shelter with a platform where they try to flee from the lizards. They struggle to get up, but Sakamoto launches poison smoke bomb down that kills the lizards. The trio make it to safety, but other players track them down, forcing Sakamoto to investigate. While investigating, Sakamoto gets attacked by Masashi Miyamoto, one of the men following Himiko. Masashi was looking for Himiko because she stole his bombs and supplies. He allied with another player and they both attack Sakamoto, but he manages to escape and return to shelter. However, Masashi manages to track him down and attacks to kidnap Himiko. Although Sakamoto fights back, Masashi outmatches him and throws him off a cliff. Masashi cuts off Taira's fingers with a knife and takes Himiko along with all of her things. Luckily for Sakamoto, he's still alive and returns to the shelter to find an injured Taira. Sakamoto gets upset and feels the need to rescue Himiko upon learning that she could be the same girl he met in the game. Sakamoto finds the hiding place of Masashi and his partner. Both men are torturing Himiko until they realize Sakamoto is nearby. Sakamoto enters the hideout and kills Masashi's partner without much trouble. Sakamoto rescues Himiko, but Masashi finds them as they're about to escape. Masashi and Sakamoto are fighting, and Sakamoto is about to lose when Himiko activates one of her poison smoke grenades, defeating Masashi and escaping. After escaping from Masashi, Sakamoto and Himiko decide to camp nearby for the night. They talk until they fall asleep, and Himiko finds out that Sakamoto is the guy she met in the online game. However, Himiko pretends not to know him as she still doesn't trust him. Himiko wakes up in the middle of the night and is surprised by a strange woman. Hearing this, Sakamoto decides to investigate and find Shiki, the girl Himiko saw in the night. She attacks Sakamoto, although he manages to neutralize and calm her down. Once she wakes up, Shiki shows a strong dislike for men to the point that she leads Sakamoto out of the room to talk with Himiko. Shiki tells Himiko that she can't trust anyone on the island and that she cannot trust any man. She tells Himiko she was one of the players in a past game and got tricked by a man who she thought was her ally. Finally, Shiki explains to Himiko that when someone obtains all 8 radars, a helicopter arrives and picks them up. Himiko tells everything to Sakamoto, who gets the idea to try to escape the island using the helicopter after obtaining the radars. Himiko and Sakamoto return to the shelter to find Taira with his hand healed and bandaged. A stranger introduces himself to them as Masahito Date. At first glance, Date looks kind and trustworthy, but he's one of the previous game participants who betrayed Shiki. Date tells the trio he'll help them get off the island, and being a doctor, Sakamoto trusts him to treat Taira. Date tells Sakamoto to go out and get supplies since they just dropped on the island. Sakamoto agrees and goes with Himiko to find food and medicine for Taira. Once outside, they both realize that more people are looking for supplies, and while some get scared, others keep coming closer to get food. Within the group, Sakamoto meets Oda Nobutaka, and the two fight for supplies. On the other hand, Oda's partner ambushes Himiko while she's trying to help Sakamoto. The fight ends with Oda taking the briefcase with the food and jumping into the water. Himiko gets rid of the woman but realizes Date tried to kill her during the fight and then acts as if nothing happened. Seeing Oda jump into the water, Sakamoto decides to follow him, arriving at a beach to face him again. However, Sakamoto doesn't trust the situation and suspects Oda could have set a trap. Sakamoto decides to wait while another player shows up and sees the food case, but when he picks it up, a bomb explodes, killing him instantly. After the explosion, Oda comes out of hiding to take the briefcase, and Sakamoto intercepts him, asking him to put his things on the ground and walk away slowly. Oda obeys very naturally, which confuses Sakamoto, who thinks it could be another trap. Sakamoto decides to approach the briefcase, and Oda activates his remote-controlled bombs, sure to finish off Sakamoto. However, Sakamoto managed to get rid of the explosion and is still alive. Both fight again, and Oda takes the food. To his bad luck, Sakamoto gets his supplies stolen by Kosuke, who's near the battle. Sakamoto returns to the shelter empty-handed to discover an ill Taira from his injuries. The group decides to go to the abandoned building where Shiki was staying, as they might find help there. Himiko tells Sakamoto what happened in the jungle and warns him to be careful with Date. Inside the building, they search for the medicines, and Date is the first to find them, putting some in a bag he was carrying along with a remote-controlled bomb. Date hands the bag to Sakamoto and leaves the room. Himiko tries to tell Sakamoto about the bomb, but Date activates the detonator, blowing up the room. After Date blows up the room, he steals Sakamoto's bombs and looks for Himiko, who's shocked by Sakamoto's death. As Date is about to attack Himiko, Shiki attacks Date from behind, saving Himiko. They both try to run away, but Date threatens them by telling them that this building is full of bombs that he planted. Having no way out, Shiki and Himiko decide to confront Date. Shiki fights with Date, but Date tricks her and attacks them with a bomb that he planted in the building. Shiki gets knocked out, but Himiko is still traumatized by what happened. Date finds Himiko again and tries to attack her with one of Sakamoto's bombs. But the bomb fails to ignite, meaning Sakamoto is still alive. At that moment, Sakamoto appears to confront Date. Sakamoto tries to attack Date with the bomb he threw at Himiko, but Date escapes, luring Sakamoto into a trap. They arrive at the location and Date activates the bomb, but Sakamoto changes its position, so when Date activates his detonator, the bomb explodes near him, defeating him once and for all. On his side, Taira starts to have illusions about his family and begins to go crazy after being alone for so long. The delusion makes Taira think of killing Himiko and Sakamoto to get their chips and leave the island. So as they both return to the shelter, Taira attacks them with his homing bombs and a battle between the three begins. Taira attacks Sakamoto, who ends up with a badly injured leg while trying to avoid the bombs. Meanwhile, Himiko tries to protect Sakamoto by defusing the bombs Taira aimed at him. Himiko manages to deactivate most of them, and Taira panics, fleeing the place. Sakamoto locates him with the radar and goes after him with his injured leg to apologize for leaving him alone, not wanting to hurt him. Meanwhile, Taira falls into a pit with several hungry lizards and, in a desperate act, kills himself with his last bomb. Sakamoto returns to the shelter, sad about the death of his friend. Himiko tells him he can go home since she's got some chips, and he'd have all he needs by killing her. Sakamoto quickly refuses, telling her he plans to escape the island with her. And that was Btoom Season 1 recap. If you enjoyed this recap, remember to hit that sub, click the like button, and comment down below to let me know what you think of the series. I'll see you on the next video.